the one and only Modestas Bukauskas, joining us right now from the UK. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, my man? I just want to say it's an absolute honor to be on your show, bro. I've been following you and watching you for so many years, so this is quite a moment for me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. What a last few days it has been for you coming back. I don't know. Are you down from cloud nine? Does this feel like it's real life for you? How could you explain everything that you've been through over the last couple of days? We're going to get into the whole story, but just the last couple of days. Oh, there's your ceiling. Just the last couple of days.
Yeah, nice. Do you know what? I've not really had a chance to have really much of a calm down for anything that's been going on as of late because everything just happened so fast. You know, my third fight, obviously in 3 months, so it's just been like a massive like kind of roller coaster. I actually just had to kind of sit back for a minute and just let everything sort of sink in. But already my perfectionist mindset is already telling me like I just want to get back into training. I just want to try and keep improving, and obviously to get like a massive win here, it was amazing. Australia is such a beautiful country. I'd never been there before. The stadium was amazing. Obviously, this is my first actual fight in the UFC in front of a crowd, which
Wow.
was another experience in itself. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey, man. So yeah, I'm just like, reveling in obviously the glory and the win and everything. But at the same time, I'm obviously looking forward to the future and looking forward to improve my skill sets even further and obviously show my skill sets even more to the world.
So, like I said, your story is great. And I actually want to take a step back or two if we can. And I know you've had to talk about it before, but we've never had a chance to speak about it. So I hope you don't mind. You suffer that third straight loss and you injure your knee in that loss. You injure your knee against Khalil Roundtree, and then you get released. How much time after the fight did you get released?
It was about a month. So yeah, I think it was about a month later after. So I'd already had the surgery and everything, and yeah, pretty much yeah. I remember first seeing it on UFC roster watch on Twitter, and then I called my manager, and then obviously he let me know the news. So yeah, it was about a month after the injury.
Wait a second. You're kidding me here. You saw it on UFC roster watch? Legit? That's how you found out?
Yeah.
That's fucked up, man. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. I was just flicking through Twitter. You're kind of just chilling. Watching some stuff on your phone, and then next thing you know, I'm like I say, I'm going through Twitter, and I remember actually I had a message. I can't remember who it was, but someone told me like I've seen that you're not on the UFC like fan roster or whatever. And at first I thought, oh, okay, I'm just gonna like sort of not necessarily ignore it, but I'm like, nothing's been said to me yet. And then yeah, afterwards I saw on Twitter, and then afterwards I then called my manager, and then yeah, he pretty much confirmed it after that.
Can you describe that feeling when you see yourself with the X UFC? Like what happens to your gut? What happens to your heart when you see that?
Well, it kind of like really just dropped. I'd been going through probably like the worst time in my life already, just from that injury and having the third loss, and you know I'd literally just gone from all my dreams coming true to all my dreams just crashing down and getting splattered in my face. So it was, I was trying to stay positive. I kept on like, I've still got stuff written on my board back here as well. I had stuff written like all my goals and stuff like that. And I'd just been trying to sort of just stay motivated because I knew I'd lost my third one in a row. I knew that it was like a really bad injury and that was going to take a while to recover. So I was just kind of just trying to stay positive every day as much as I could, just trying to do things like productively. And then, yeah, when I already knew it was a bad situation, I had a lot of personal things in my life not going so well. I was, just sitting in bed, just like I say, just trying to wrap my head around the situation. Then next thing you know, I see that obviously on Twitter, and like my whole world just kind of just fell apart. Like I felt like quite dizzy. I'm like, I just can't believe. It's like you almost feel like you're waking up and you're like kind of in a nightmare or something. Like straight away I saw it. I just burst into tears. I had to I had to go and tell my dad. Call my manager, and I just thought all this hard work that I did to make the UFC happen, which has been my ultimate goal for ages, has just now, as quickly as it happened, it's just got taken away from me. So that was like it was really painful. It like really hurt my heart because I'd literally just climbed a massive mountain, like I say, and tumbled back down. So yeah, it was a very tough time when I found out.
You entered the UFC 10-2. You were the Cage Warriors light heavyweight champion. You obviously have to vacate that title. You go to the UFC. You win your debut, and you look great in that fight. Then you fight Jimmy Crute, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, and then Khalil Roundtree. But you entered the UFC in July of 2020, as you said, midst of the pandemic. You're not fighting in front of anyone. That's Abu Dhabi, and the next few fights weren't in front of anyone as well. But the last fight, the Khalil Roundtree fight, was a little more than a year later. So your time there, the first time, was just about a year. The injury that you suffered against Khalil, I understand, was so gruesome, so bad that even your physiotherapist went to the surgery just to see what they did and said it was like a war zone, all this stuff. What exactly was it that you had to, what was the surgery? What was the injury?
Yeah, so I didn't really disclose anything that was sort of happened before the fight, but so I'm just gonna go into it like from the beginning. But so obviously I had got offered to fight Khalil Roundtree, and it was supposed to be in London. This was when the pandemic, technically everyone thought was going to be finished, right? Big opportunity, London in front of a hometown crowd at the O2 against Khalil Roundtree. I mean, what an amazing fight to fight in your hometown, right? And everything looked all good and blah blah blah. And then in training, actually 10 weeks out from that fight, I feel like a little click or a pop in my knee, and this injury actually dates back to 2019. 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks before my Cage Warriors title defense, I'd actually torn my ACL, 50% of it, and I didn't know this. Like I thought it was just a dislocation, and my physio was already helping me with that. But I got the MRI afterwards, and yeah, I'd torn a bit of my ACL. But because I had muscle around the leg, like holding everything in place, it kept me going for such a long time. Then this next injury happened before the Khalil fight, 10 weeks out. Essentially, what I had done is the ACL torn to 75%. They on the MRI, it showed that it was kind of like on its last legs, and both the meniscuses were torn in the left leg. This is before the Khalil fight, and the MCL was already chronically worn anyways. So I remember speaking to my doctor because he was obviously explaining to me what was going on in that MRI, and this is like 10 weeks out from a fight. So I kind of told him like, what are we saying here? Do I need to get it sorted now or after the fight? And he said, listen, your leg, he says, I've worked with you for a long time. Like your legs are strong enough to hold everything in place that you'll be able to fight. So, obviously the decision's ultimately down to you, but you will be able to fight. But we have to get this sorted straight after. So I thought, judging by Khalil's last couple of fights, and how things were going, I thought, do you know what? I'll be able to tough it out. I'll be able to get in there, do the job, and get it sorted. And unfortunately, that what happened in the fight happened, and essentially the meniscus then tore off the bone, and the ACL, they said it looked like half a bit of tooth floss. They said God. It was like literally hanging on the end, and the MCL was completely gone as well. This is why I say my physio, when she went to see the operation, she said she's never seen such an intricate operation because they had to do so many things to it. But I had the best doctors in London, UFC, absolutely amazing. They covered the surgery. So I was very grateful that, I had the best people in the business actually looking after my knee. But this is why I've actually managed to make such a great recovery. Not only is my physio absolutely amazing, but the doctors were great. And, and obviously I was very determined to make sure that I could get back. But yeah, it was a crazy injury.
Did you ever get an explanation as to why? Because I remember when you got released and it felt like, man, this guy's got a high ceiling. He's coming off an injury. Like, why release him? At least during the recovery process, why add that on top of all the crap that he's dealing with? What was the point? It's not like you're taking someone's slot. It's not like there's an actual number. So did you ever get an explanation as to why they decided to do it when they did?
Not really. At the end of the day, it's a ruthless business. So what I learned is that, the world, as Rocky would say, the world ain't all sunshine and daisies. You know what I mean? Sunshine and rainbows. Sorry. So, it was kind of like, obviously I was just hoping to God that my performance against Oleksiejczuk would be enough to kind of keep me in there. That's why I thought I was kind of just hoping that was what they were trying to determine. But I think realistically, as soon as the fight was over, I think everyone already, I think they already knew they'd come to a decision. Listen, it's 3 in a row. Not many people last in the UFC losing 3 in a row. So, yeah, of course, I would have liked to have got told maybe earlier. But at the end of the day, this is a harsh and ruthless business, and they knew I wasn't going anywhere anyways. I got a massive recovery to deal with. So, I whatever happened was going to happen anyway. So, it is what it is. I just had to kind of just get on with it.
You come back in November, so a little over a year later, you make the recovery. How did you feel in that first fight back? That was in Cage Warriors this past November. Like super nervous, unsure about the knee, worried about it. Now you got to go back to the place that got you to the UFC, so it's a bit of a humbling process, right? What did you feel like?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very humbling process. I was actually, I was actually ready to fight from about March, April time, and I was
Wow.
actually looking to have a fight. That whole time, I was literally speaking with my manager. What promotions? What are we doing? What's the next step? I kind of felt for a long time that I've already ticked off the Cage Warriors check mark. Like I've already done this. Surely I should look to something else to get me back to the UFC. So we looked at a couple of different options, and all of those fell through. Either opponents didn't, pulled out, or this, that stuff didn't solidify basically. And then it got to summertime, got to about August, and then
Oh, did we lose him?
Working on it.
All right. What a gent. We'll get him right back. Incredible stuff. The Baltic Gladiator. Oh, there he
knew
is.
about that fight.
Sorry, we lost you there. Now you're back. You're back.
Yeah, my bad, mate. So yeah, about 2 weeks out from that fight is when it actually got together. Like I didn't actually know that I knew I was going to fight in November, but I didn't even know when, what date, what was going to happen. And then literally 2 weeks out, they found me an opponent. They found me Lee Chadwick. Very credible opponent, very tough guy in the game. And yeah, I mean, look, mentally, I actually felt pretty calm going into that fight. I had a really good mental coach, and like I felt really good. Like I felt like it was my calling. I've been waiting for such a long time. I've been doing backflips. I've been doing,
Wow.
freaking wrestling shots and all sorts. Like I knew my knee was okay, and it was just a case of just going out there and competing now. And I have to admit, I was a little bit hesitant on the trigger in that fight. It wasn't my best performance, but it was enough to get the job done. I knew I had to do a hell of a lot more though after that fight. After that fight, I knew this isn't really going to get the UFC's attention. I've got to do more. So I knew it was a win. It was a much needed win after obviously a losing streak. You're always going into fight like crap. I've just been off a losing streak. I don't want another one. But at the same time, I was confident in my skill set. I knew what I could do. So it was just a case of going out and doing it. And, I got the job done, and that was the main thing.
And then you come back a little over a month later, New Year's Eve, and you do look very impressive and very dominant. You get the finish, and you get the Cage Warriors light heavyweight title back, which you once had. Did you feel after that like, oh, wow, I might get a call now? Or did you think, okay, I'm probably staring at a few more of these before I get a call?
It was kind of like up in the air because my manager said, look, just stay ready, just stay in shape because you never know. Something may happen where there's a pullout. So obviously I was just, just doing my thing. Do you know what I find is really freaky? Yeah. The last time I got called to the UFC, I went to Newcastle. So my stepmom's family live in Newcastle, and we just went to train by the beach, and I was recording like beach, like Rocky type, like training things. I did the same time this time.
Wow.
Before I got the call to the UFC again. So it's like a weird sort of process. It's almost like deja vu in a way. But I didn't. I knew that I needed an impressive performance, which I did, but I didn't know if I needed another one. If you get what I'm saying. So I knew potentially if last minute something comes up, I'll get the call. But I know I couldn't count on that. So weirdly enough, already when I got the call, the same day, my manager called me. It was like the Wednesday, and he said, Cage Warriors have offered you a fight to defend your belt on the 24th of March.
Wow.
So already, I was like, at first I was like, oh, okay, if the UFC don't want me, then fine. I'll go and bag another body. I'll do what I got to do. And it was literally that same day that I then got the call that I got to the UFC. So it was like a very crazy process. It all happened just like kind of like wow, like just all
Yeah.
out there, just out of nowhere, you know?
What was your reaction when you got the call?
Yeah. So I obviously I just finished my training in the evening. I had it set in my head. Okay, I'm gonna have to defend my belt. So I was doing what I had to do, and I was driving home, and it was about 10:30 at night, my time, and right where my house is, yeah, I literally live in the middle of nowhere. Like literally, there's like freaking woods everywhere, no
Huh.
signal, and there's a little bit right like 5 minutes from my house where there's signal, but then it cuts out. Literally, just before it cuts out, my manager gives
Uh-huh.
me a FaceTime call. I literally have to swerve over to the side of the road. I'm like, okay, if my manager's giving me a FaceTime call, that's probably something important. But I didn't even think in my head that I was going to get the call, right? And then he asked me straight away. He goes, what's your weight looking like? I'm like, oh, well, I'm not fat, so that's good. I was like, I'm between 220, 219, 220. And he goes, well, you're fighting in Australia in 2 weeks' time. And I'm like, it like literally almost like the same emotions that I had when I got the call that I got released. It was like the complete opposite. So how low every like my whole emotions went down when I got cut, it was like the complete opposite. It was like always on the rise up. I had like a massive like adrenaline and I just started crying. I like had my hands in my head like and I was just telling my manager like I can't believe like all that we've been through and now we're back again. Like the for everything that had just happened to then finally come back to it again, like where I was before, just literally 16 months ago to now, for it to happen so fast, it just like literally I couldn't even control my emotions. Like I was literally I was as I was driving home, I was like literally like screaming. I was like, yes! Like I
Uh,
couldn't, you know what I mean? I was like in a mad, I was like in a mad elation. Like I was so buzzing. Like everything was just, I don't know. Like I felt really weird. I felt like I was like in fairyland, And that's when I obviously went home to tell my parents, and yeah, like it was just a ball full of emotions. I think the second time round was much more emotional than the first time round than when I got the
yeah.
call.
Considering everything you had been through. And in those dark days as you're recovering, I read that you said like you were drinking yourself to sleep. It was pretty dark. But was it that bad?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, I like I said, like personal problems. I kind of just went into like a mode where I was just like, fuck everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I literally thought like the world was out to get me. I thought, I kind of felt like I was being punished by God. Like I had so many different things going on in my head, and that was the only way to get away from the real world, man. Because when you're in this nightmare, you just want to get away from this nightmare, and like sitting in bed with a cast and or like having to ice my leg and nothing solidifying. I had to have a second operation. Like there was
Oh
many
man.
times that I was drinking myself to sleep. I would tell no one about it, but I remember like I have in the corner of my room, just like I have like a plastic bag with all these bottles of freaking beer and me watching Game of Thrones and I wasn't even paying attention to it. Like I was just drinking for the sake of drinking, just because I wanted to have that like buzzed feeling, so I didn't have to be present. Like that was such a massive contrast to now to where it was then. Now I couldn't imagine being anywhere else but the present. But back then I didn't actually want to be there in that moment. I just wanted to be somewhere else. I just wanted to be in a different world. Like so yeah, it was dark, man, but I'm lucky that I've got amazing family and friends and people that supported me to help me get out of that time. But I did have to go through a realization process. One of my training partners, who I know a lot of people have been talking about, Will Curry, he was actually a massive help in or like the main one of the main factors in order for me to sort of learn more about the world and learn more about life. And the way he explained it is that I was too blue lightsaber, and you know, you can't be red lightsaber. You can't be like too arrogant and self-consumed and all the way to that side, but you gotta have the mix of both. I was too blue lights. I was too nice, too kind, too this, that. no, you got to have a dark side. You've got to have that mean streak, which is something that in all areas of life, not just in fighting. And it's actually helped me out a lot because it helped me to become a tougher as a person. Because it's I mean in my nature, I just want to be kind and polite to people and not do anyone any harm. But you got to have a side where it's like, now hold on a second, like you got to tell people what's what. So that was one massive lesson, and I was actually very grateful and thankful that that the relationship between me and Will became even stronger after this whole situation. He was I hadn't trained with him a lot. I trained with him like kind of, but he was the first person out of all the fighters that I'd been training with leading up to the Khalil fight to come to my house and
Wow.
and visit me whilst I was with this leg injury. So that's why, like I say, now me and him are like brothers pretty much.
I love that. And so you get this opportunity, and I'm sure you probably wanted a little more time to train for Tyson Pedro in his home country, but you got to say yes, right? And then you go out there and you're
Yeah.
involved in this super close fight. How nervous were you before they announced? Because you probably would get another one. You took the fight on short notice, but you want to get a win badly, right? It's been a while. How nervous were you before they raised your hands that you had done enough to win?
Yeah. So I kind of, obviously you're in the guy's home country, you're in his
Yeah,
backyard. So if it's a close fight like it was, I knew that the first round that I've watched this back obviously a couple of times now, but the first round was, you would definitely say it was his because he took me down. But if you're looking at damage, like I definitely landed more damaging shots in that first round. If you're looking at overall strikes, so it's like, okay, if you're holding the weight of the takedown, then yes, they would have to give it to him. They already told me, my corner was already telling me that I was down that first round. So I was like, okay, I've got to get this back. Second round, I definitely again landed more shots or landed the cleaner shots. And third round, I knew I had to do something, which is why at the end of the round, I sort of went a little bit mad. But I should have done that more. I should have done more because I hurt him a couple of times, and I should have even then thrown little bit more. But who knows? Maybe jet lag and all that kind of stuff. Being in another country on short notice, maybe those things affected me. But I thought at the end of the fight, when they said unanimous decision, that's when I've kind of thought they've got to give it to me.
Mm.
If it was split, I would have thought, fuck, it might go one way or the other. But because they said unanimous, I'm like, there is no way in hell I could lose this fight now. The fact that they're calling it unanimous. So already from that point, I almost had a bit of a relief because I'm like, surely, and then obviously when they called it, like I say, it was just kind of like, oh, thank God they decided to give it to me. But I was just glad that they gave it a unanimous decision and it wasn't a split decision.
Saw a lovely video of you, and I think it's your father backstage, and you're very emotional. What was that like?
It was, I mean, just like a culmination of everything that has gone on. I mean, he's the guy that's been in my corner, been the angel on my shoulder throughout my whole career. He's been, coordinating my whole career, my strength and conditioning, my strategy, my, like mentally preparing me. He'd been, helping me with my striking, and he's always believed in me, and I just it was like literally again just like almost like a like the the the, like sort of the peak of the emotions of me and him together as father and son. We've been on this crazy journey together. You know, we've been to the UFC, we've been cut, and now we're back again, and now we just won again. Like it was like a massive thing. I was just basically telling my dad like we did it. After everyone just counting us out, everyone telling us that we're never going to do it, that we're never going to get back, that that my career was over. People telling me, that you Modestas, you're crap, like you're never going to make it, and to prove so many people wrong, and like there was already people turning their backs on me, and turning their backs on us as a team, and for us to prove them wrong, it was like a massive it was a big thing for me. I still get emotional about it now, just even speaking about it, because like I say, me and my dad have been through a hell of a lot. So for us to be here together, still doing it, still competing with the best of the best, yeah, man, it was a very, very emotional, happy and warm moment. And I'm sure there'll be many of those more to come.
And what's this whiteboard situation here? Because I see you have win Cage Warriors belt again. Is this all? These are
Yeah.
all the things that you were visualizing. I see money figures
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I see
Yeah.
beats
So
Tyson Pedro via KO, so didn't quite. What is this?
yeah. So this is like my I don't know, it's almost like my mystical whiteboard, because at one point, like, all the things that I've been writing. Do you know what? Let me show you something. Let me show you something, actually.
Please, please.
Uh, Let me see if I can turn this camera around.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So, do you remember my Martha and Hamlet fight?
Uh-huh.
So, I trained with John Jones, obviously, as you can see,
Yeah.
and I went to go and see him actually at the Body Power Expo before that fight, and he signed obviously my photo. And look, they said the present and the future, and then obviously the Cage Warriors belt. I had wrote underneath that I was gonna. Oh, sorry, I got to cut that out. But anyways, I basically said that I was gonna win the belt, and it happened. Like, this was
Wow.
the start of me trying to speak everything into existence. You know, I'd literally wrote it down on this piece of. This is why I have it framed up, because I have it written on this piece of paper that I was going to win the world title, and I did it. And then I just started like, okay, well, hold on a minute, let me get a whiteboard. You know, then I said, oh, I actually wrote on my whiteboard before I was going to win my UFC debut. And when I won the 50 grand bonus, I was going to give it to my parents, which everything came true. So from everything coming true, everything started not coming true, basically. Like I said, from my dreams coming true to getting crashed down, crash and burn in front of me. So now everything's starting to happen again. It's like a mystical thing, but I feel like everything obviously happened for a reason. In order for me to succeed now, the dark times I had to go through had to happen. But
I love it.
it was mad, because I wrote at the top there, back in UFC by 29 years old with a record of 13-5, and that's exactly what happened.
Yes.
So, you know,
Wow. And I see
obviously
UFC champ by 31. Still possible. You got 2 more years.
yeah. So these are things that obviously I have in my head. Obviously, I'm working towards it. I have the records written there. Obviously, I wanted to win by KO. It was very possible, but unfortunately, I didn't do it. But still, 14-5 is my new record. I wrote that up on there. And yeah, just, you know, win Cage Warriors belt again on December 31st. So I've just ticked off
I love it.
you know, a load of different things on my whiteboard, and you know, it's just, I've got more things to do. Obviously, the top ones are more like, were my long term, but I'm gonna have to rub some of that stuff off, and the bottom one's more for like short term kind of stuff. So, you know, it's just something to keep it at the forefront of my mind. What it is that I want to achieve? What do I want to do? And just keep it plugging through my head constantly. And you know, like I say, I think all the things that happened to me, like the really hard times, the dark times, were all just part of God's plan in order in for the bigger picture. For me to become a UFC champion within the next couple of years, I had to go through all of this, because I tell you what, bro, when I was in that cage in front of almost 15,000 people, it loved it. Like, everyone was booing, like walking out there. Like, I even watch it back on the video, just me walking out with my hands out. I'm just like, I'm here. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the moment I've been waiting for. I thought it was even funny. There was one person that put their hand up to shake my hand as I was walking out. But you know, playing my entrance music, I felt in the like I said, that I felt very in the moment, and it felt absolutely amazing. I'm like, I'm ready to fight, you know? These are things that I didn't feel before. So I feel like this roller coaster had to happen this way. So I'm just grateful, you know, as crap and shit of a time it was. I'm grateful that it happened this way, because I wouldn't have learned the lessons needed in order to be where I am now. And I'm by no means finished, you know?
I love it, man. You make us all want to root for you. You are an amazing guy with an amazing story, and you're so passionate. And I'm so happy that you were able to come on and tell us about all of this. And who knows, maybe you get a short notice call to fight in the O2, and right that wrong. It's coming up, and you know, you deserve something like that. If not now, but in the future. So I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope that you get to realize all those dreams. And this will be the first of many appearances on the program, Modestas. Thank you so much.
Mate, thank you so much, and I really appreciate your kind words, bro. Like I said, I've been a massive supporter of you for a very long time. I've been watching your show, and it's been absolutely amazing. I'm very happy to see all of your success.
Thank you.
And yeah, man, like I say, we're all going to rise together. And yeah, man, I really appreciate you giving me this time on your show, my brother.
Anytime, and we'll do it again soon. Congratulations. Enjoy the victory.